Vanderbilt Commodores have been the class of college baseball for a number of years. Some of their recent spoils of victory there, from blue chip recruits to guys performing better than expectations to a great coaching staff. Of course, Coach Tim Corbin and what they do. They're good, and they will be appearing on MLB Network coming up on Friday night, 7 Eastern. It's also going to be streaming on MLB.com. It's the MLB4 tournament, and it features Vanderbilt and Michigan on Friday. That's the game we'll have at 7 Eastern
Last
Friday.
year's College World Series final rematch.
Pretty cool. Yeah, really cool. UConn and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, the other two teams in the field of 4. And it's a pleasure to have Mike Baxter on with us, who's the hitting coach and recruiting coordinator at Vanderbilt in his 3rd season in that role. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, tell us about this tournament, because it's very early in the college baseball season, and I know you and Harold were just visiting about this during commercial, but for our audience's benefit, how do you prepare for teams like this when it's so early in the season?
It's a good question. I think, we have some limited information with the current team that we're going to be facing just because of the newcomers, but as you guys mentioned, we have a track record with Michigan. That's a team that's returning a lot of guys. And actually, UConn and Cal Poly both have kind of older teams this year as well. So, we're doing our best to kind of get ahead of it, at least get familiar with the returning pieces, and then, just try to prepare our guys to make sure that they're present and ready to play their best version of their game. And that's really all you could do early in the season.
Mike, I want to talk to you about the recruiting process, because it's so different now in the college baseball game than ever before, with travel ball and different ways of finding kids. There's a lot of people, a lot of parents watch this show. So if you have a youngster wanting to go to a college program, and not just Vanderbilt, but how's that recruiting process work, and when should you start?
And that's a good question. And the challenging part, I think, for families right now is they feel pressure to start very early. I think there's a lot of pressure on social media. Obviously, when you talk high school kids in general, there's peer pressure. They see their friends committing to programs. But, when we talk to families about it, I think they really have to understand that they're going to drive that process. It's going to work on their clock. They really got to be diligent and deliberate in getting the information that they need to make a good decision, because we're talking about some really formative years in their child's life, and they want to make sure they end up in the right program, the right fit, where they're going to enjoy that experience, because they really should have a good time and really kind of develop as a player and as a person. So when we go into the recruiting process and you start communicating with different kids and different families, you got to get a feel for where they're at inside of it. Some kids kind of have an idea what they want before it starts, and then others really, they don't know, and it takes a little bit longer. But, if you were asking me one piece of advice, I would just tell the families to not feel pressure to have to make decisions quickly. Make sure that they form very genuine and deep relationships with the staff. I mean, these are the people that you're going to hand your child off to. You want to make sure that you feel like you're putting them in an environment for success.
Hey, Mike, let's talk specifically about your offense, your lineup, and what you guys accomplished last year. A historic season, 59 wins, setting a record there, a single-season records in homers, runs, walks. That's a big part of that component. You've set a pretty high bar for yourselves this year. I mean, can you imagine getting close to or maybe eclipsing those numbers with the group you have this year? I know you're returning a lot of kids.
We are. Yeah, we're returning. We were returning a few guys in the lineup. I think there was some turnover from a couple of the, maybe the main core pieces of that lineup. But, I think the reason we had some success last year is because we didn't try to go out and do that. I think anytime you talk about hitting offense specifically, if you go out there chasing numbers and you're trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark, you're probably not going to have a high level of success. So, what that team did well last year was they stayed very present, and they were very, very disciplined from, an approach standpoint, but also from, an expectation standpoint. There was some consistency in the way they approached their at-bats, where they were just really looking for their pitch and trying to be on time. And, that's easier when you kind of have a slow heartbeat. A lot of those guys are playing the SEC for 2 to 3 years. I think they were very familiar with the league and how to navigate it. So that's one part here. I think with this year, we're going to have some guys entering the lineup that might not have that conference experience yet. So their development is going to be based on their ability to get in, be comfortable, and really just play their version of their game. Try to help our team score runs, because that's really what we're trying to do, just play team offense.
So you've been there. It gets old hitting in the cages every day and getting ready for the start of the season. So how excited are the players for Friday's game against Michigan?
Yeah, they're ready. I think they're ready to go out and compete. And we talked about it last night as we prepare to travel. I think you put in a lot of work and training throughout the fall, throughout the winter segment. And now it's time to have fun. It's time to go out and compete against other opponents and really just make sure that we're improving every day as a group so that we can try to have a great season and have success long term and do great things. But I know they are excited to get on the plane tomorrow, get some good weather in Arizona, and just go out there and line it up together and compete against somebody else.
Hey, and doing my research, getting ready for this, wink, wink. I knew Matt was
Anyway.
going to say something. Hey, you played with David Price at Vanderbilt. He's been in the news a lot. Does he still come there and work out?
He does, yeah, on occasion. I think, David's kind of been based a little bit more out of Florida in the last 3 or 4 years, but he was a huge part in this facility I'm sitting in right now. I mean, he was incredibly generous in our last raise and helped us put together what I consider one of the best, player development facilities in college baseball, and he was a huge part of that. So he comes through when he comes back home and visits, but I'm really excited for him to get out to LA. I know it's going to give him a great opportunity. What a team they put together out there. Really going to be cool to watch those guys go about their business this year.
Hey, Mike, we appreciate the visit today, and we're looking forward to watching the game on Friday night. Just so many great big leaguers that have come out of that Vanderbilt program, active big leaguers on, the pitching end. Certainly, we hear so much about Walker Buehler, Sonny Gray, David Price, Kyle Wright, and that system of the Braves about to make an impact as well, I think. And not only has Vanderbilt put a lot out there, but Archbishop Malloy High School in Queens, New York. You're at the top of a very distinguished list. One name that might strike our viewers is odd is our press conference scheduler, Mark Caiafa. And for the unindoctrinated, those who are not familiar with Mark's handiwork, this is Mark. He just seems to be everywhere in the building. Also an Archbishop Malloy guy. Have you ever met Mark?
Love him, Malloy. Shout out. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't know. I don't know if Mark and I have crossed. I'm not sure.
He's a big Met fan.
Yeah.
I'm sure you came across him.
If you had met him even once, you would have remembered him. So I'm pretty confident in saying you guys have never. We'll put you together.
Hey, make sure you tell our native son, Jack Leiter, hello for us, okay?
You got it. No doubt. We will. He's doing great down here.
Mike, thanks again for the visit. Looking forward to watching the game Friday at 7 Eastern on MLB Network.